Sapiens consciousness contrasted with Apriorian consciousness. There is no path to understanding the events of man without understanding there is a right and wrong attached to two distinct ways of understanding reality. This kind of thinking is not alien to humanity, but we have for the most part did not realize the full implications of this. If there truly is a right and wrong, there is a right or natural way to live. But if there truly is a natural way to live that is right, then all other ways are wrong, and those who live in these ways are wrong. The people, assuming they exist, who live right are not the same class of persons who do not live the right way. The realization thrusts upon us is that there are two races, two realities, and two distinct consciousness. These two peoples are not compatible with each other. They exist as enemies of one another. Their positions and thinking and lifestyles cannot be reconciled. Reality is literally a war to the last man. One group or the other will ultimately be obliterated. All we must do is postulate that there is a right way to live, a truth to be found, and we must accept there are two realities, and each is incompatible with the other. If knowing the truth is one form of consciousness, then the holders of the lie express another type of consciousness. Both races express a form of consciousness. Both express an attribute of a class of persons, or a race. There are two races in this world and two fundamentally different understandings of reality. The distinction is logical, and therefore it is true by definition. There is no ultimate reality one can compare the two possibilities with, to see which one is the truer. There is no external standard that exists by which the two paradigms can be compared, side by side, and rated. These are the realities, and the only thing that can be done is to compare them on their own merits. Mankind can rate the one reality in terms of the other. But this means the one is always a lie compared to the other. The only other option is to compare them on their own merits. Which one corroborates its claim, and which one fails to substantiate its postulates. But beyond each being the critic of the other, or the judge of itself, there is no other steps or process that exists by which we can determine which reality is truer or more valid and which false. That is, there is no standard against which to judge reality than reality itself. Mankind sits in judgment regarding the two realities. Which reality he or she chooses determines which race he or she belongs to. Which race one is part of determines which reality one is in and which reality one believes in. The race of the person is defined by and defines the consciousness of the person. The question is no longer if there are two realities, or if there is a truth and lies. We cannot believe otherwise. What must be questioned is if there is a line dividing them or if this is all an illusion. If there is no way to divide the one reality from the other, then in truth, only one reality exists, and it encompasses all our conceptions and assumptions about what is real and true. There is but one reality for some people. The one reality has many manifestations and interpretations, but ultimately a fixed and stable reality exists that can only be known tangentially, that is indirectly. This is called the reality of synthetic truth. We cannot know synthetic reality directly. We cannot what is real absolutely. Truth in this view is always relative and approximate. Reality one is known through the senses of the body. Thus, all our experiences of reality one are indirect. Our brain formulates an image which may or may not be a good representation of what actually exists. Thus, there is an objective, unknowable reality 0, and there is the reality 1 that is a representation of this objective reality 0 formed in our brains, which is what is known of as subjective reality 1. The power of this kind of thinking is that truth becomes little more than opinion. In reality -1, we interpret our impressions in a way that suits us. We still have to maintain a certain degree of logic in our formulations of truth, but the bar is fairly low. Science changes as our interpretations alter. A simple way to understand the distinction between reality 1 and reality 2 is to view one position as naive. Sapiens experience reality 1 physically and consider these phenomenological experiences, if not real, then very significant. If we receive a sensation or impression, this is an indication that something real is causing the mental perception. However, the sapiens' rationality is flawed. It is grounded primarily in a confirmation bias that seeks to confirm reality 1 exists. Reality 1 science is not looking for truth. It looks to confirm reality 1 is physical and reality 1 can be explained solely in terms of reality 1 being physical. If the brain is experiencing reality, the brain is part of reality. The reality being experienced includes the brain. From our perspective, a person viewing reality as a real thing appears reasonable. At the subatomic level, one part of reality observing the rest of reality is incomprehensible. Why and how is one part of an infinite, subatomic force field conscious of the other parts? How can a subatomic event such as consciousness congeal at various locations and not elsewhere? How do the elements of consciousness retain consciousness? What holds consciousness together to give it structure? The very thing that earmarks humankind is incompatible with the materialist conception of reality. Consciousness, life, love, and all the non-physical things cannot be given an explanation that coheres with a physical interpretation of reality. Even at the reality 1 level, the paradigm of physicality falls apart under scrutiny. The image reality 1 provides us with is of a conscious physical brain observing an external objective reality composed of material components. Reality 1 is observed by means of physical events, such as touching, seeing, hearing, tasting, and smelling. In each case, a physical event happens at the interface of the physical body and the physical world. But in every instance, this physical event is translated into an electrical event by special sensory cells. Theoretically, we could be nothing but a brain, or perhaps not even a brain. All that is needed to recreate the world of the senses is sensory input and a being conscious of the stimuli that translates these signals into images of reality. In other words, the only certain feature of reality 1 is a non-physical component called consciousness. But how could the brain know how to interpret electrical impulses into an observation? How do we know what the color of red is or what softness feels like? I say the pillow is soft. You say the pillow is soft. How do we both know we are observing the same thing, the same way? Is the question meaningful? Why do I prove to my satisfaction you and other things exist, when I only have my consciousness of what I am doing to confirm my beliefs? Why not deny you exist? We are limited by what we can do because of reality 2. Reality 2 exists as logic. But logic tells us there are people who do not correspond to logical reality. Reality 2 postulates there are two realities, one exists as truth and the other as all the lies men tell. Reality 2 postulates there are truth and lies, and only the reality of truth truly exists. The reality of lies is a fabrication of a deceitful race. Reality 2 is logical, it exists because it logically must exist. If there is no truth, there is no reality. One cannot have a reality which is existence, that does not exist. If it exists, its existence is the barometer of truth. We cannot say there is only one reality because we know there are contradictions. This means apart from the reality that is true and exists, there is a reality that is a fabrication and contains only contradictions. To claim truth is relative is a contradiction. To claim there is only one reality when you know you do not accept the validity of the two-reality hypothesis is a contradiction. Reality 1 does not contain all possible conceptions of reality. It specifically rejects and denies the two-reality hypothesis. Mankind is faced with two competing alternatives. We can accept there are two distinct realities, one true and the other false, Or we can contradict ourselves and claim there is only one reality that contains all possible realities, when it absolutely does not.